What's up, everybody? It's Danielle with Kentucky Creatives, and today we have a guest who is going to jump in on here in just a few minutes, hopefully. And I'm really excited about just in general celebrating all things. We have Love Month, we have Black History Month, we have so many amazing things that we are celebrating in the month of February. We have quite a few new members who have been joining on, which I'm so thankful for. We also have a lot of events that are up and coming right now. You may have already experienced a few of those from members who attended the event just a couple days ago on Friday. Happy Sunday to everybody else who's watching and wasn't able to make that event. But we're hoping that you will join us on future events that we'll be talking about very, very soon within our community hub. So if you have a moment, let us know where you're checking in from. If you're checking in from anywhere in Kentucky, let's hear it. I want to hear, I want to see this big onslaught of, I'm from Lebanon, or, give yourself a little Kentucky shout out there, whatever that looks like. So today, again, we'll have a guest here show up here shortly, but I wanted to at least check in, give everyone an update on what we're currently doing in regards to influencing. Okay, so I do believe Brittany is actually here. Let me get her in the stream here. Woo! Here we are.
Hey, how are you?
We're doing all the things. It's Sunday, right? I know
Yeah.
you and I both are like Sundays is family time usually, so I really appreciate you carving out this little space
Oh,
for
it's
us.
all good. This is a rare kid-free weekend for me, so
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that's
I
not
may or
the
may not
explanation.
have used this as an excuse to get babysitting out of my parents for the whole weekend.
Well, thank you, mom and dad. Thank you so much. We're on the other side of that. So my child is killing it on some sort of game, and he's really into it right now. So he's like, yeah, yeah, in the background.
Love
It's
him.
oh no, he's a hoot. He's a hoot. But I wanted to kind of dive into you. So for people who don't know who you are, I have a little bio for you actually. I was so proud of myself because I put it all together and then I had lost my screen for like all of 5 seconds. So let me actually do that really quickly. For people who don't know, it's really important one that you know who you're rolling with. And I'm so glad that as we celebrate also, Black History Month, we do all the things. You just want people to kind of know more about you. So before I actually read your bio a little bit later, go ahead and tell people who you are.
All right. So thank you again for having me here today. And I'm Brittany Fiero, and I am a food blogger. I'm getting used to saying that. It's really
Yeah.
cool being able to say that now. And so my blog is Her Mise en Place, and I live here in Lexington, Kentucky, born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. So Kentucky's home for me. And yeah, so I blog, and as far as my day to day full time job. I work at UK recruiting and coordinating a scholarship program for the nursing program there. So, food blog is kind of my getaway for, from work, from life. But at the same time, it's really created this community and this
Mhm.
connection. And I've just loved every single minute of it.
Let's just talk for a second how these squares look so perfect. So
Oh,
for people who are looking at our actual feed here, you're seeing both ourselves, you're seeing her Instagram page, which is full of these amazing recipes, just fun behind the scenes, exploring with food. I know you have been selected on more than one occasion for collaborating with some really amazing groups and organizations that are around
yes.
Black equine, Black recipes, things along those
hmm
lines. So as we celebrate Black history, like what was that experience like for you?
It was very liberating, actually, and I learned so much. And so, the most recent thing that you've probably seen me post about is my collaboration with Eat the Culture. And
Yes.
so, yeah, so that was just an absolutely beautiful experience inside and out. So basically, how I learned about that, I joined a Black food bloggers group on Facebook a couple
Mhm.
years ago, And the special thing about that space is being around other influencers and other bloggers, especially in the food scene, that look like me and,
Mm-hmm.
have had those experiences, and representation for, people of color, is already tough in the restaurant industry. But then think about it in terms of how tough it can be as creatives and as food
Mm-hmm.
bloggers. And so I really enjoyed that space because every there's no holding back on there. Like, obviously there's rules, there's, things, but everybody's very honest about their experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
the experiences can be as unique as, hey, this person commented on my, post or on my food blog, and, what should I do? Or this is
Mm-hmm.
how I handled it. And sometimes those things end up being, based on culture and based on, some ugly things that happen out there in the world. And so I've even learned from that group, how they're handling different contracts, different
Oh yeah.
um, sponsorships,
Mm-hmm.
unfair sponsorships, even of, hey, my ally who um, over from, this blog, who is white, they
Mm-hmm.
got a much higher offer than what I was offered, and I have more
Right.
followers than them.
Right.
So kind of
Exactly.
hearing those experiences and hearing how they're, going through that, definitely has helped me learn and grow, and has given me a good place to ask questions, especially pertaining to being a person of color in this food space. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, before I go too far off topic, so with Eat the Culture, that was really special because the leaders of that Facebook group created this project, basically, that
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to create a free learning space for other um, food bloggers of color
Mm-hmm.
who, so they taught, how to do videos, how to do, um, you know, different setup scenes, different
Mm-hmm.
photography, um, recipe writing, all sorts of really special things that they offered for free. And with that, using their influence and their connections with bigger groups like Food 52,
Mm-hmm.
created, a opportunity for us to everybody that, applied to share something in our journey for like an e-cookbook. So, and they made like virtual potlucks, all sorts of just really cool things. And I'm forever grateful for that experience. The fact that they're offering it for free, and for with the intent of helping us get out there.
I think that's my favorite part about this experience is hearing from you the amount of resources and help that you receive, both on a confidence level, on resources level, on just getting to a par certain standard where people really take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people on across the board, whether you're white, black, or brown, are trying to
Mm-hmm.
get to that level. So
Exactly.
I would love to hear more from you about, the influences. Like, what do you think has been the biggest influence on your food blogger journey? Is it just this particular collaboration, or is there something else that kind of really keeps you going?
I think that other food bloggers. So when I was in uh, grad school, that's when I started. I don't know if you remember the movie Julie and Julia.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
huge when it
yeah.
came out.
So the main character, she was trying to be a food blogger, and I think
Mhm.
that was kind of that turn of the, I don't want to say turn of the century, but a turn in our you know, world of actually seeing bloggers and, websites. And
Yes.
so I started looking up different types of blogs, different food bloggers, and there were a
Mhm.
couple that I was like starting to follow um, faithfully, actually. And so I was like, oh, this is really cool. Maybe I can do this. And so I can't even remember the name of it. I opened up a blogger account, um, literally blogger, and tried to make like a little food blog. But I was in grad school, and so like I was just, had my head in so many different spaces at that time. But that was kind of like my first like dive into food blogging. And
Oh
then
yeah.
after that, when I finally came back to trying to create a food blog again, which ended up being Hermes on Plus, I think that family was a big influence on that.
Sure.
And just getting that um, support. And it was familiar to everybody at that point. Everybody, social media is much bigger and
Mhm.
more a normal everyday part of our world. So people could actually understand like what I
Mhm.
was diving into. So besides um, other food bloggers, I would also say when I really started to kind of take it seriously, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really something I wanted to do. There was an event that I actually met you at. With I can't remember. I had just found it, and I think it was through Aisha that I had,
Oh yes. You're
contacted. Yeah,
right.
it was like, okay, I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna go outside my comfort zone and go to this event and learn
Yes.
from other people. And so that was a big influence too. That really gave me the energy to, to keep going. And is groups like this Kentucky Creatives that, you just make those connections and get
Mhm.
that support. And even though my family supports me, it feels good to really be with other bloggers and other influencers that really get it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many of us out there that can relate to that, both on a professional basis and a personal basis.
Hmm.
I relate to that because as moms, I completely relate to that. How do I put together these recipes? I have to kind of time it perfectly so that it's like this, symphony of silence for a little while mom
Yeah.
puts together these videos and captions it just right. I totally get that. And I think a lot of other Kentucky creatives can relate to that story of balance and you know
Hmm.
wanting to learn more, but also incorporating these new things
Hmm.
into our new routine or a new regimen, and letting that balance out in 2022. So I love this. So family and definitely other influencers have been a big influence on your food blogger journey. That's super cool.
Hmm.
So you talked a little bit about how you got started, which is so great. I love that. Because people's origin stories are so different across the board. And I
Hmm.
personally love the idea too that everybody has their own unique story. So how you started is going to be different from how Mary Jane started or how Peter started. And
Hmm.
so for you, I'm assuming it still came around family. Like family was just like, oh, you do this really well.
Yeah. So, I was between that first, experience in grad school and then, just kind of really putting it off, really putting it off. I finally, when I had my first son during maternity leave, I was just like, I absolutely need something for me. And
Mhm.
I had a really, really tough pregnancy and just, I was barely making any money, with work and whatnot. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to take the $75 to my name and
Wow.
buy this, went on the Bluehost, bought a
All
space, and
right.
was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And so I have to admit, so I started a blog. It was called Door 30. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to write about. And it was going to be just kind of catch all lifestyle because, I was, in some ways, I was afraid of food blogging and I
Mhm.
don't know why. And just like really focusing on that. And then, so I started that. And then probably about 6 months later, I just bought, an extra domain and said, that's it. I got a niche down. I'm going to do this, and got a little, a little bit more brave with it. But yeah, so when Freddie was born, that was kind of my, all right, what am I doing? And what do I want to show my child?
Mhm.
I've watched my family hustle so hard, especially as being from a very blue collar background.
Mhm.
Um, do things that even if it was not their full time job, like my grandmother, she loved interior design, and she worked at a paper factory, but on the side, she sold home interior.
Mm.
And then from that extended into like designing, curtains. Like she's amazing seamstress.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so doing that, and even just making people's um, flower arrangements, different things for their table settings, all sorts of stuff. So, watching that, and my aunt, she sold like Avon, but it was things that that they loved,
Mm-hmm.
and they were finding ways to do that. And so, I kind of feed off of that a little bit. And, I love food. My mother, you can see this on the About Me on my website. My mom went to culinary arts school. So,
Yes.
yes. So, she isn't like, she doesn't own a restaurant or is a chef or anything, but she had me when she was very young. She had me when she was 15.
Wow.
And so, she's gone through so much. And at some point she was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. And she went to culinary art school. So I learned a lot of things from her as she was going through school. And so, and that was one way that me and my mother connected too, was in the kitchen and through the things that she was learning. And I actually have on my bookshelf in the family room her binders from her classes.
Wow,
So,
what a
yeah.
gift. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I did not
Yeah.
know how
So,
deep that ran, Brittany. I had
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah. I should talk more
Wow.
about this. I'm going to write this down.
Yeah. Replay this.
Yes.
Like, I think
Yeah.
that's so important that when you find something that trickled down from a previous ancestry or a previous family
Mhm.
member, and that really attaches to you in some way, you hold on to that, you treasure that.
Mhm.
Kentuckians have a real deep thing about tradition, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're just like dripping with it. And so that's
Yeah.
such a wonderful way to kind of, step out in your own based upon the greatness of your ancestry. Like, that is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
raw for me. I'm not even in this family. And I'm like, yes.
Saturdays were fun. So my mom, she would have class during the week. And it would be, technical stuff or like math classes, all sorts of stuff. She went to Sullivan, and on Saturdays were the lab days. And so that's when she would have to be there and cook, and she would bring stuff home.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so if she had, something that she had to, have like this like check off for, or something, to present, then, she would practice in the kitchen. And so that's where I kind of learned some of my knife skills, and just know as much as I do know about cooking because of her experience.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Like, I honestly, like, that is such an honorable thing. I just think it's in our blood to kind of pick up those pieces as Kentuckians overall, but even more so as people of color, pick up those pieces and say, yeah, I can do this. And it's easier for me to do it now because of people that have gone before me. So I think that is what an honorable thing. That's all I can say. Like, that's just deeply honorable. And I really, really treasure
Thank you.
that you shared that with us today. Thank you. Okay, so what was it like when you partnered with bigger collaborations, and can you kind of tell us a little bit what that process was like, so other people who are also wanting to do this process of finding collaborators and sponsors, like, what was your process like?
So I have to say, from my end, one of my goals is to work on my reaching out for those opportunities. I felt like I've gotten lucky with people reaching out to me. But now I feel like I'm at a space where I need to kind of learn how to be that business manager, so to speak, for myself.
Right, your own.
I'm a PR person, yeah. But like I said, with Eat the Culture, that just being part of that group is how I discovered that, and they held a like a Zoom meeting with a presentation. Just what their goal was, what they were expecting, all that stuff. So, I think it's just a matter of putting yourself out there and taking that chance. So I did that. And then with recently, I just did a giveaway with Aya Foods, and they reached out to me. I was like
Yes.
so shocked about that. Yeah. And they had also reached out to There's another creative that I've connected with over the years that I followed, Dish It with Tisha, and she reached out. She was like, "Hey, they reached out to me, So we kind of, behind the
Mhm.
scenes talked about, what was going on and all the good stuff. And she knew the owners for some time, and so that gave me a little bit more confidence in doing that. And
Absolutely.
then let's see, as far as like local collaborations with other bloggers like Marie at Bluegrass Blog and um, with Octane Designs, you all reached out to me and like, hey, or text me, hey, I'm thinking about this. Would you be interested? So that's been cool. And then let's see who else. The Mousetrap. I think that was kind of like my first like
Yes.
local collaboration, and that came from just putting myself out there and doing their. They had like some recipe contests, so
Yes.
yeah, so that
Okay.
was a big boost of confidence.
Yes, I was about to say I love the Mousetrap Club. That was super cool. That's the first time I was like, she's doing bigger things. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we need to hold on to her, treasure her, because she's
Oh,
gonna go far, 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 far.
oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, I really, really love that. That I think, and I think too, as you have grown, both in influencing and just in general in the culinary scope of what you do, I've seen such a lot of, you can see all that growth, the growth from
Mhm,
photography, the growth from the type of recipes, the complexity of the foods that you use, things
mhm.
along those lines. You could just kind of see it go woo, like it's just
Oh,
kind of
thank you.
escalating more and more. And I hope that is bringing a lot more visibility too to those bigger brands who are like, okay, she can handle all of that.
Mhm,
And I think that's a great example to other people who are just getting
mhm.
started kind of as a food blogger. They don't know necessarily where to start. Maybe they just bought that domain, but they don't know
Yeah.
where else to go. I think hearing your story is very, very, very helpful to other people wanting to grow in that particular industry. Um,
Mhm.
so I want to ask randomly because this is Black History Month, so I'm like blackity
Yep.
black, 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 black. How do you celebrate being a Black influencer?
Oh gosh. That's a good question. That's a deep one. I think that I celebrate it by really looking at where I've come from to where I
Mhm.
am now and looking at all of the other Black influencers out there. And there's just so many beautiful people to follow out there and that we can learn from and that are just so inspiring. And so
Mhm.
that's one way I celebrate and sharing, that's huge. That's if people are looking for a way to be an ally, that's definitely one way to do it is share those creatives, share their stories and
Mhm.
engage with them, ask questions, ask for those collaborations. And so, and also learning,
Mhm.
one collab I didn't mention that I've learned so much from is Black Soil. And seeing what Black
Yes.
farmers are going through is just, and I first learned about them. I just started working at UK and they had a like a lunch and learn type thing
Mhm.
through the Department of Ag and or excuse me, the College of Agriculture. And I was like, this is really interesting. And like looked
Mhm.
at my schedule, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna block this out. Like I have a meeting and go see what this is about. And
Right. Let's go play.
yeah, and I was just like, it was just like so moving. And
Mhm.
me having um I grew up, in the city, and so I only know so much about farming. But I feel like I've learned so much from like my husband's family, who, he comes from a family of farmers,
Mhm.
but their experience is much different as white farmers. And I never, it's already taken in so much as to learning what they do on a day to day basis and what
Right.
he's learned. And then, hearing this other side of the story was just absolutely, moving. And so, collaborations with them and meeting Ashley. And I think that
Mhm.
they're even doing some things through, yeah, the College of Nursing with some of the nursing students, which is huge. And just,
Yeah.
that connection with the community and like what they do. That's, influenced me too, even more of, making sure that my blog isn't, um, I don't want it to be one sided. I don't want it to be just about what I learned in my experience and what I like in cooking. But it's really a communal thing. Everybody needs food. Like that's the one thing we have in common. We all need food.
Yes.
And we all, have different experiences with food. And how can I make that, a community? And so I was just thinking yesterday and talking to my husband about this. I was like, a big goal of a lot of influencers is to have a lot of followers. And I had to get it out of my mind that I didn't need to have, focus on getting tens of thousands of followers.
Right.
And that the 1,000 followers that I have been so connected. I've been connected to so many people, and there's been this sense of community. And like when we normally would find it creepy for somebody to reach out, I've actually felt it kind of moving, because I had a few people reach out, when I was pregnant with Franklin, and they were like, hey, I know you're going through a lot, and I know you don't know me, but if you need me to bring a meal, I've learned from you. No, that's cool. But like, I know you, but like, there's a couple of people I'm like, I've never met you a day in my life.
Right. Oh my goodness.
But it was kind of moving and humbling. I was like, oh my gosh, I've made these virtual friends, and I've made a friend that's a food blogger in Guatemala. So,
hey,
she reaches out, and so it just, with connecting with other cultures, and, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, speaking of like Black History Month, of the diaspora. It's just so, there's so many cultures within being Black or a person of color that there's even so much for each of us to learn. And so I've been kind of diving into learning, like even through Eat the Culture, there's just been so many educational things that I'm like, oh, that's why that's why that red drink is so important. Or
right. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love too the fact that you mentioned like going back to our roots, but also appreciating those roots and how they've transferred into other areas. Everybody needs to eat. The commonality is everybody eats. So I love the fact that you use that commonality to kind of branch out and say, this is a little bit of my experience, but this is also this part of education that I learned. And this is this cool thing that I learned from another culture. Like, you're using and you're fusing all those spaces. And it's so cool that, Kentucky is that place. Whether we want to acknowledge that or not, it is that place of fusion in a lot of areas. We just have to look for it and be intentional about using it in a way that actually empowers people to want to know more. So I think you do that so well already.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and I was so hyped when Top Chef Kentucky, like just how much that put out there, like what we can offer. And I wish I could remember the food fact, but they had mentioned that like this is like one of the only areas where like so much of our agriculture and so much of our foods go out to the Midwest and the West. Like we're like in this like beautiful area. So and like even on that, I was like learning things about just different cultures even within Kentucky. Like there was like an episode about lake life. I grew up in Louisville. I don't know anything about lake life until I got to college.
There is a whole that's a whole sport within itself. You're absolutely right.
So we have so much to offer. So that was fun.
I love that. Okay, so in regards to like sharing those experiences, what suggestions can you give to others, again, kind of in similar areas, who are, again, starting their food blogging, influencer journey? What are some base suggestions that you could offer?
Try not to get caught up in what everybody else is doing, in a sense. Like find what you want to do, own that space, and really pick a few things at a time that you want to work on. Like you don't have to have this like perfect curated page or Find people that influence you, pick up on what it is that you like about what they do, but don't feel like you have to learn it all in one sit down and have everything perfect right at the beginning. Enjoy the journey of it.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna put that on here as well. Like I'm doing all the notes today. So enjoy the journey of it. I think that's really the heart of where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
influencers, especially early on, can get kind of
Mm-hmm.
tripped up or caught up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also really important as we talk about, focusing on just one thing, not focusing on 20 things, but just focusing
Mm-hmm.
on one is huge. All
Yep.
these things are small, easy ways, even for us people who've been around in the game for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that we can easily get tripped up on. So just,
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of not getting caught up in the game, not getting caught up too much in the trend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um Not getting caught up with that, but I also love the idea of just really enjoy the journey of it, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's journey is so different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's no one, one person, one road, there's no one trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
It's really everyone's journey is different, so I just really
Yeah.
enjoy that. Thank you.
And like one good example, when I first started, I felt like I needed to have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a Twitter, every
Mhm.
single social media, and I couldn't keep up with all of that. And so
Yeah.
I just cut out Twitter. I was like, I don't even like Twitter to begin with. Why am I on here? And I was like, oh, it's because every other food blogger had, a Twitter page. And so I scaled it back and said, hey, I'm only going to do Instagram. And I rarely even share my blog stuff on my Facebook page. But I
Yeah.
am at a point where I'm going to make a Facebook page just for my blog. But that's because I grew into
Hmm.
um, where I have the capacity to do that. And
Yes.
so I just think it's important to figure out what are the most important things that you want to focus on, what's doable, and then try to do those well. And so another tip would be to, use your resources, learn from other people. Um, don't feel like you have to pay a lot to learn those resources. There are very affordable things out there. Even with making a list of like what are those things that you want to learn.
Hmm.
So, you don't need to pay hundreds of dollars for an SEO class,
Yes.
um, or for you know, keyword research. I've seen those things out there. I'm like, well, if I bring in enough money, then maybe I'll pay for a program to do keyword research. But, I listen to different podcasts related to food blogging.
Oh, yes.
I listen to or, watch things on YouTube, join groups, join Facebook groups where you can get those resources and learn it, for free or for a little cost.
Yes.
um, Put yourself out there with giveaways. Like recently, I'm trying to remember. Sorry, I'm gonna
No, you're fine.
check the name of it real quick. First We Eat. I got really lucky and I followed the Tastemakers conference. And that's kind of one of my goals.
Yeah.
I'm like, one of these days I'm going to go to this conference. I can afford to go to
Yes.
this conference one of these days. And they were doing a giveaway for a food blogging photography class. And so
Ooh-wee.
I've been taking that, and I had one. I just tagged a few people. It's like
Mhm.
I'll probably never win this, but you just got to take those chances. And I probably won. I mean, this is probably like a couple thousand dollars
Yes,
worth of free coursework, and it's
exactly.
very focused on food blogging.
Mhm.
Um, there's local things that you can do with photography. I've been a member of the Tates Creek Photography Club for several years.
Yay.
So yeah,
I'm
so
just now learning about some of these groups because I'm just like,
uh,
I'm kinda like, I'm kind of skits, on it. I'm just like, "Is that real? Is that a real group?
yeah.
Like, is that?" So, actually saw your face on that, and I was like, "Okay, well, she's a member, then that legitimizes all this." So,
I'm so
mm,
grateful for that group. So I took photography in high school. So film photography was my background, and I'd
Oh,
always had a
nice.
love for photography. And when we moved here, so we ended up living in Florida for a little while, or West Virginia, then Florida, and then came back here to Kentucky. And I was like, I really need something. I really need a creative outlet, and I really want to get back into photography. And so I found through the library, Takes Creek Photography Club, and that's where they were hosting
That's
their
so
meetings.
cool.
Yeah, and so I feel like I'm influenced by them as well, because it's such a relaxed group, and there's meetups, and there's lessons, and there's, everybody that's from just now picking up a camera to like these huge professional photographers in Lexington, or at least in the area,
Yes.
that you can learn from. And it's very nice, and the group is just so nice, and just, you post anything and people give you feedback and
That's
support
good.
and all that stuff. And so it's definitely like a safe place. So you know if it's learning the basics of photography, then just know that there's a lot of power behind learning the basics to not shooting automatic all the time. It
Oh,
just gives
yeah.
you such a range, whether it's going to be food photography or doing headshots or being at an event or any of those things. So just go for it.
Oh my goodness, I love it, because I want to say some of your CSA pictures that we use for Black Soil on their website came from you. And it was
Oh
just
yeah,
literally
yeah.
you playing with contrast and light. It was you
Mhm.
playing with dark tones and food and the color
Mhm.
of food. So I love the fact that you experiment in that way. And I hope that other Kentucky creatives who are out there who are in listening range of this are also understanding that it's okay to play. It's okay to
Oh
experiment.
yeah,
That's how you know what works and what doesn't work.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, if you see something out there, just and then that's the beautiful thing about the internet too. I'm just like,
Mhm.
how did they do that? Google it. I'm like,
Right?
dark photography.
I
So I
love
had,
that.
for that photo, I think I had like a black sheet like taped to the wall, and I keep black poster board and stuff
Mhm.
just to bounce light anyway. And so
Yes.
yeah, so I was in there just like putting everything everywhere.
But that's how you know, that's how you grow. And the result came out absolutely beautiful. I mean,
Thank
it
you.
wasn't even a question. I was
Appreciate that.
working literally on Black Soil's website, and they were like, "We need a picture to go here." I'm like, "I know the exact picture that needs to go right there because I just saw it on Instagram."
Yeah.
Let me go ask for permission real quick and get that on
Yeah.
there. So yeah, if anyone checks out blacksoilky.com, you'll actually see her picture front and center somewhere on the homepage. So
Yeah.
check
Thank
that
you.
out. Okay, so what's next for you? What's the next
Ooh,
phase?
that's a good one. I think that I'm like, what should I do? Well, now I have a list of things I need to write about because because of this. Actually, so speaking of like photography, I was just thinking about how I need to take the pressure off of myself to always do only food recipe
Okay.
posts, because there's so much that goes behind creating a recipe, and then um, testing out that recipe. I'm a big fan of, I have to test that recipe out at least 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or 5
I can
times before
attest
I
to
post
this.
it.
I can attest.
Yeah.
I can also taste test. Also, the same
Yeah.
exact.
Yeah. Um, that's where I've gotten a lot of support too, is people are like, yeah, if you need me to taste this. So everybody loves the support. Food
Yes.
blogging. So I think coming up with finding myself as a writer
Mhm.
is kind of next. Kind of thinking a little bit about email marketing, possibly. Definitely that Facebook group.
Mhm.
And just thinking about sections that I had set up on my website with the idea of doing more than just food post, and kind of having that. Um, those Anthony Bourdain goals.
You
He was just a
know,
beautiful writer.
yes. Oh my gosh,
So
I can see it. I can totally see that, Brittany. Oh my goodness, I can see it.
So finding my voice in that, and just finding those articles, and then like listening to a couple of food related podcasts, You know, I was listening to, I think it's the Blog Millionaire, who talked about with food bloggers. He has a couple that are just dedicated to food bloggers, of your website being, you know, 50% recipes, 25% um, roundups. Like just he had a little breakdown, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of
Yeah,
this.
that lifestyle breakup, like people to see the food and the other parts of you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, and I have a section in my blog that I'm writing a couple of things for actually, that is about my culinary bucket list.
All
And gotta
right.
get
Oh
it
my
back to that
goodness.
and how I've done a couple of things. So, which
That
my
excites
next
me.
yeah. So, speaking of like, you know, Black History Month too. So one of those things was to take like a food, like a class, like a culinary class.
Mhm.
And with the pandemic, you know, I was like, okay, well, that's probably never going to happen. But College of Ag ended up having a virtual cooking class. Chef BJ
Ooh.
Dennis, so you know that who's a super, you know, experienced chef,
Yes.
very representative of the Gola Geechee
Mhm.
diaspora, and it was co-taught by oh gosh, why is her name escaping me? Ashley. I can't think of her last name right now, but she's just I follow her.
Oh,
Food or Death is her
okay.
handle, in which she just announced she's going to be on this next season of Top Chef. So like
Ah!
I was fangirling so hard during that cooking lesson.
Just taking notes, just breathe it in. Like, what's she gonna do next?
Yeah. Yeah, I had the
Oh,
laptop
goodness.
set up and like it was one of those things where I was like, how are they going to do this, you know? And they're like, here's the you know, list of food and what we're
Mhm.
cooking, and you could either watch or cook along. And so I like about passed out because they were like, okay, Brittany's here cooking. She's got chicken and she's got this and this and this ready. And I was like, oh my gosh. Chef
They
BJ
know
Dennis
my
just said
name.
my name.
Right. I love those moments. I love that. That is so inspiring and empowering too. For
Yeah.
anyone else who's looking for that, you know, how can I level up? How can I move up? How can I get more from this space? That's one awesome way. And I
Mhm.
love the fact too that, you know, as you level up, that means that gives more space for other people to get behind you, and
Mhm.
you can continue that passing of baton in that way too. Cause that's super cool. That's the best part about leading in some spaces, is being able to pass that knowledge and that expertise backward too.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have two more questions and we'll wrap
Okay.
this up. So, your favorite thing about Kentucky, and where can people follow you? Which we kind of already know that answer.
So you can follow me on Instagram. Her mise en place is my handle. I think I have some underscores between that.
Yeah.
And then what was the other question? Sorry.
Favorite thing about Kentucky?
Oh, favorite thing about Kentucky. Oh gosh. You know, I felt like I used to be super cynical about Kentucky, and then I think it took leaving Kentucky to really learn and appreciate where we're from. And I think that, you know, the beautiful thing is that there's so many cultures that make up Kentucky, and so many amazing people. And yes, we have a truly hard past, and going through so much that. Um, Still needs to be fixed and worked on and
Mhm.
changed. But you know, there's just so many cultural pieces to who we are and where we come from. That's just absolutely one of my favorite things, including the food, including just that sense of community. And actually, if I have time, I found
Sure.
something.
Yes.
Speaking of food that like goes way back that my mom found. And since I didn't make it on it, I can talk about it now. So my
Okay.
mom dug up these things. I tried out for Top Chef Amateurs, and it was a fun process and lots of interviews, and had to do all these videos. And then they asked me for all these things. So my mom had to do some digging up for some stuff with me. And she found this cookbook from my elementary school. I drew that.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this being in our groups in class. And Miss Rich had us, it was like, here's some, pens and some crayons. And this is what we're doing today before recess. And I was all for this because I was just like, food, yes. I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to draw, since we're the teddy bears, our classes, what we're going to do is my poor group game was just plan. Yeah, and then we drew food.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this is so cute though. I mean, is that not the building blocks of what has yet to of what is coming or what has yet to come? I mean, wow.
Yeah, but looking through this, there's so many recipes, and they're from different families and from people that I knew growing up, and people I spent the night with. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when our mom used to make this. But that's the fun thing about Kentucky and about food is just having those dishes. And there's corn casserole in here, hash brown casserole.
Oh, the memories.
Pound cake, something called Dee's Delight.
Wow.
Which is a girl that I know her still. She's a big time Lauren Bell. Yeah, she's a big time photographer out in Seattle now.
Wow.
Yeah, so she does amazing just portraiture and stay inspired. Sometimes I even send her a message hey girl, camera question real quick.
Right.
And even found the photo that they were asking for photos, as kids and stuff, and ended up sending her the photo of our friend group, because we had an obsession for the Spice Girls.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, we had some fun photos, and then my mom found this one.
Oh my
this is how much I love food. I was Fruit Loops.
Oh, you were Fruit Loops. Oh my
I made
gosh.
that.
See, creative food creative.
Yeah.
It's all in there. I love this so much.
Yeah, but that's what I love most about Kentucky. It's just that whole, food brings us together.
Yes, it does. It really does. Oh my goodness, this gives me all the feels. I love this. What a wonderful way to spend Sunday, and just this little way of sharing our cultural appreciation, our desire, and our passions around food. For anyone who wants to follow Brittany, we'll be sharing all the links about her throughout the rest of this chat today. For anyone who is interested in wanting to know more information about being part of this group, this is a great example. Having chats like this one-on-one, these are completely separate from the free Facebook group. You're not going to find these the rest of the year. These are private conversations just between us and the rest of the Kentucky creatives who are part of the paid group. So if you're interested, a friend that needs to hear this advice, the replays of all of these are right here inside of KentuckyCreatives.com. So I really encourage everyone to check that out. Brittany, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to be here. So yeah, anytime. Y'all know I love hanging with y'all.
Right. For everyone else, definitely continue to check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, all the things. I'll be doing a little video chats back and forth, cutting some of these up and sharing these in stories, just because it's good. It's just dripping good. So I just want people to really understand and see the value being a part of the paid group, and also seeing the value of Brittany and the wonderful things that she's doing through food and the messaging she's giving to people through her work. So thank you so much for today, Brittany.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do and just making this possible for us. We owe you that thank you as well.
Oh, okay. I'll take it. Thank you. I'll take it. We'll catch you guys on the next one for March, and be on the lookout if you haven't already signed up for our emails for more alerts and updates on upcoming events. So we'll catch you next time.